I was scrolling through some real estate listings the other day, just, doom scrolling like you do. And I realized something. We are so conditioned to look for the glitz, you know what I mean?
Oh,
The
absolutely.
drone shots, the infinity pool, the staging that looks like no one's ever lived there. It's the HGTV effect in full force.
It is. We're definitely trained to buy the fantasy. We want the house that tells us we've made it, not necessarily the one that actually makes sense.
Exactly. But today we're doing a hard pivot. We're looking at a market where that fantasy can actually be a massive liability. We are doing a deep dive into the housing market in Jamaica. And based on the research we've got today, specifically this really comprehensive guide from Jamaica Homes called From Yard to Kitchen Sink, what really makes a Jamaican home sell, the rules are just completely inverted.
They really are. I mean, if you take a standard American playbook, or even a European one, and you try to apply it in Kingston, you're probably going to fail. The whole metric for value is just different. It's not about curb appeal in that cosmetic sense. It's about resilience.
Resilience, that's the word. That's what kept jumping out at me in the reading. It feels heavier than just quality.
It is. Because the core idea here is that Jamaican buyers aren't looking for pretty. They're looking for ready.
Okay.
And ready means something very, very specific in a tropical climate where the elements can be harsh and the infrastructure can be, let's just say, variable.
So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack that psychology. We're going to walk through the house, room by room and yard by yard, to really get what closes a deal in Jamaica.
Right.
We'll look at why the kitchen is treated more like a factory floor, why the yard is like an economic engine, and why smart homes might actually be a dumb investment there.
It's a fascinating look at practicality over perfection.
So let's start with the headspace of the buyer. The article says buyers across the island, Kingston, Mobay, wherever, have become much more forensic. What's driving that? Why the skepticism?
You really have to look at the context. In a market like, say, the U.S., if a pipe bursts or your AC quits, it's annoying, for sure. But you call a guy, he shows up, and it's fixed in 24 hours.
Right.
In an island economy, supply chains are totally different. Parts often have to be imported. Labor can vary. So a buyer in Jamaica isn't just looking at the house. They are calculating the logistical headache of living in that house.
So it's like a real-time risk assessment.
Precisely. They're walking in thinking, is this house going to work for me, or am I going to be working for this house?
Yeah.
There's a great quote in the source material from Dean Jones, the founder of Jamaica Homes, that just nails it. He says, people don't buy houses, they buy confidence.
They buy confidence. I want to drill into that because usually when I hear confidence in real estate, I think about the market, going up. But this sounds more structural.
It's totally structural and financial. Confidence here means knowing that the roof isn't just, painted over to hide a leak. It means knowing the water pressure works when the municipal supply is low. The article makes this great distinction between perfection and readiness. Perfection is the cosmetic stuff, the imported Italian marble.
Right.
Readiness is functional. It's the gravity-fed water tank and solid block construction.
So if I'm a seller and I have a limited budget to prep my house, I shouldn't be wasting it on, expensive crown molding or fancy wallpaper.
Oh, an absolute waste of money. You should spend it on proving the systems work. Buyers want honest homes. If you try to cover up a crack with some plaster without fixing the foundation, a Jamaican buyer who often brings a knowledgeable uncle or a builder friend to the viewing.
The knowledgeable uncle. So real. I feel like every family has that one guy who knocks on walls.
Exactly. And the second that uncle spots a cover-up, you've lost their trust. And in that market, trust is basically the only currency that matters.
Okay, so we've established the buyer is pragmatic, almost cynical. Let's look at where they spend the most time. The report says the #1 deal breaker is the kitchen.
The engine room.
But isn't the kitchen the #1 room in, every market? Kitchens and bathrooms sell houses, right? That's the old saying. How's it different here?
It all comes down to usage.
Yeah.
In a lot of Western luxury markets, the kitchen has become a social space. It's where you stand around with a glass of wine.
Sure.
You might have a 6-burner stove that only gets used to, like boil pasta. In Jamaica, the cultural context of food is completely different. The kitchen is a high-output workspace.
The article mentions Sunday dinner. I know that's a big deal, but translate that into physical stress on a house for me.
Well, Sunday dinner is not a sandwich. It's a marathon.
Yeah.
It means heavy pots, Dutch pots, which are cast iron or heavy aluminum. It means high heat for hours, steam, frying. It's aggressive cooking.
So delicate finishes are a definite no-go.
They're a liability. And this is where we run into what the article calls the Pinterest trap.
Oh, I think I've fallen into this. You see that massive kitchen island with the waterfall edge on Instagram and you think, I need that?
Right. And in a 4,000 square foot home in Atlanta, maybe that's fine. But you shove a massive island into the middle of a more compact Jamaican kitchen, and it's a disaster.
Why? Just because it takes up space?
It kills the flow triangle,
Right.
the movement between the sink, stove, and fridge. But more importantly, in the tropics, it kills airflow.
Ah.
If you have 3 people in there, someone chopping, someone at the stove, someone washing, and this giant block of granite in the middle, nobody can move. The heat just gets trapped.
I hadn't even thought about the heat aspect.
It's critical. If you're boiling kidney beans for 2 hours, that kitchen gets hot. If the design blocks the cross ventilation from the window, that room becomes unbearable. A buyer sees that trendy island and thinks, this looks nice, but I'll suffocate in here on Christmas Day.
It just signals that the seller doesn't understand the reality of living in the house. So if we're ditching the trendy island, what should be there? What are the ready features that impress a buyer?
Durability. The source highlights countertops. You want granite, quartz, or even concrete, materials that can take a hot pot being set down on them. That laminate Formica stuff, it just peels in high humidity.
And cabinetry. I'm guessing wood acts differently in the tropics.
Oh, it does. Moisture resistance is non-negotiable. Between the humidity and the steam from cooking, cheap particle board cabinets, the flat pack kind, they will swell and warp in a year. Buyers check the hinges, they check under the sink, they want solid wood, treated cedar, or PVC, something that ignores water.
It's basically industrial grade requirements for a residential home.
Pretty much, yeah. And that goes for appliances, too. This was a really interesting point. In the U.S., listing a sub-zero fridge is a massive status symbol. In Jamaica, that can be a red flag.
Wait, really? Why would a luxury appliance be a bad thing?
It's the serviceability gap. If that complex digital motherboard on your fancy smart fridge fries during a power surge, which happens, who's going to fix it? You might be waiting 6 weeks for a part to clear customs from Miami.
And your food is spoiling the whole time.
Exactly. A standard, white, mechanical Whirlpool, or GE. Every technician on the island has parts for that in his truck. Reliability beats luxury. The buyer wants to know they can fix it locally, cheaply, and fast.
That is a great takeaway. Serviceability is a luxury. Okay, let's step outside. The report says the yard is number 2, but again, we have to redefine yard, right? We're not talking manicured lawns.
No. In the U.S., a yard is often for curb appeal. Maybe a place for the dog. In Jamaica, the yard is an extension of the living space. It's a working yard.
So what's in a working yard? What's happening out there?
Well, it's a laundry facility line. Drying is the norm. It's a social hub, a playground, but critically, it's an agricultural zone.
There's a line in the text I loved. You can't get mangoes from tiles.
That's the one. There's this trend to pave over the entire yard, create a concrete jungle because it looks clean. The report argues this is a huge mistake.
But isn't concrete lower maintenance? You don't have to mow it.
It is, in terms of labor. But it creates 2 massive problems. 1, heat. That concrete absorbs solar radiation all day and radiates it back into the house all night.
So you're baking your own house.
Correct. And 2, drainage. In a tropical downpour where you get inches of rain in an hour, that water has nowhere to go. It leads to flooding. Grass yard absorbs water. A concrete yard directs it right into your living room.
So the grass is actually part of the home's infrastructure.
It is. And then you have the fruit trees. A Julie mango tree, a breadfruit tree. These are not just decorative. They are food security. They are actual economic value.
That's fascinating. So a buyer looks at a mango tree and sees a lower grocery bill.
They see sustenance. They see hospitality. Giving fruit to neighbors builds community. It connects to this deep cultural desire for self-sufficiency. Concrete slab offers nothing. A yard with soil offers potential.
Speaking of potential, the report mentions land is future. What does that mean here?
It means families are often multi-generational. When they look at a yard, they're checking the slope of the land, not just for drainage, but to answer, can I build a guest house here in 5 years? Can I put an addition on for my parents?
They're future-proofing the asset.
Exactly. If it's all paved over or it's a steep cliff, that potential is 0. If it's flat, fertile land, the value just skyrockets.
Okay, now what about the structure? I see a lot of listings with open decks. Very California. The expert opinion here seems to be, don't do that.
It's the resort fallacy.
Yeah.
You go to a resort, you sit by the pool, it's nice, but you don't live on the pool deck at 2 in the afternoon. The sun is just too aggressive. An open deck is unusable most of the day.
So what's the alternative?
The veranda. Deep, covered, shaded. You want the breeze, but you need shelter from the sun and the rain. A veranda is a room without walls. A deck is just a hot surface that needs constant maintenance.
It's amazing how much of this comes down to just fighting the elements.
That's the primary job of tropical architecture. If the house does that well, it sells.
Which brings us to the subtle influencers. We've covered the big stuff, but the report highlights light, storage, and security as the real deal closers. Let's start with light. Why is that an issue in a country with so much sun?
It's a legacy of older building styles. To keep houses cool and secure, windows were small, and they had these heavy decorative grills. The result is you walk out of brilliant sunshine into a living room that feels like a cave.
And that creates a damp feeling, I bet.
Psychologically, yes. A dark room feels smaller, stuffier, older. The advice here isn't to knock down walls. It's much simpler. Clean the windows.
That sounds too simple to be a real strategy.
But it's so effective. Jamaican windows have insect screens that get clogged with dust. It blocks light and airflow. Just scrubbing those screens, cutting back the bougainvillea, blocking the window, taking down heavy drapes, it instantly modernizes the whole feel of the home.
Okay, let's talk security. The report uses an interesting phrase, enclosed spaces. It talks about the garage as a powerhouse. In the U.S., a garage is where I throw my junk. What is it in Jamaica?
It's the bunker. It's the secure core of the home. Yes, you park the car there, but it's also the workshop, the gym, and critically, it's where the infrastructure lives.
Oh, the infrastructure.
Your water pump and your backup tank.
We haven't touched on water tanks yet. That seems huge.
It's non-negotiable. Municipal water can be inconsistent. If a buyer walks into a garage and sees a properly installed pumped water system, a big tank, and maybe a generator hookup, that is a massive confidence signal. It says, when the utilities go down, life continues here.
That just goes right back to the resilience theme. You can have a fancy living room, but if you don't have a water tank, you've got a pretty shell that's unlivable 3 days a month.
Exactly. A tidy, secure, multi-purpose garage beats a third bathroom any day. It shows the house works.
Okay, so we know what works. Reliability, airflow, productive yards.
Yeah.
Now, what about the lost in translation section? What are the specific American imports that sellers try that just flop?
Well, the biggest one is the smart home ecosystem.
But everyone loves gadgets. Who doesn't want voice-activated lights?
A pragmatic Jamaican buyer doesn't, because they know that electronics hate 3 things: heat, humidity, and unstable voltage.
And Jamaica has all 3.
In abundance. If you wire your whole house with sensitive smart switches, you're just creating a maintenance nightmare. A dumb mechanical switch works for 50 years. A smart switch might last 3. If it's fries, you can't turn on the lights.
And again, the repair issue. No geek squad.
Right. The report calls this high-maintenance luxury. It looks expensive on day one, but the buyer sees it as a bill waiting to happen. Glass walls are another one.
Floor-to-ceiling glass.
It's beautiful in a magazine. In reality, unless it's incredibly high-spec thermal glass, it turns your house into a greenhouse. So now your AC bill is $500 or $600 a month just to make the room habitable. The buyer does that math instantly.
It really seems like the buyers are just smarter or at least more realistic than sellers give them credit for.
They have to be. The margin for error is so much smaller. If you buy a money pit in a major U.S. city, you can usually flip it. If you buy a high-maintenance nightmare in a developing market, you are stuck with it.
So let's synthesize this. We've gone through the house. If I'm listing a property or if I'm a buyer trying to calibrate my expectations, what is the winning formula?
It really boils down to 4 pillars. First, the kitchen. Make it a durable workspace, not a showroom. Flow and ventilation over fancy islands.
Got it. Function first.
Second, the yard. Keep it green, keep it productive with fruit trees, and make sure there's shade verandas, not decks, and good drainage.
Okay, green over gray.
Third, light. Maximize natural brightness. Clean those screens. And fourth, infrastructure. Secure storage, water, power backup.
It's surprisingly stripped back. No infinity pools, no smart fridges.
Just the bones of a good life.
You know, as we wrap this up, I'm thinking about how this applies beyond Jamaica. We live in such a disposable culture. We buy things because they shine. But this island mindset, buying for resilience for the worst case scenario, it feels incredibly wise.
It is. It asks the ultimate question. Do you want a house that looks good for the listing photo, or a house that feels good on a Tuesday night when the power flickers, the rain is pouring, and you need to cook dinner for 8 people?
Tuesday night value. I like that. That's the metric.
That's the only metric that lasts. If the house works then, it works always.
Well, this has been a real eye-opener. I think I'm going to go look at my own backyard and wonder why I don't have a mango tree yet.
Best investment you can make. Just Make sure you plant it far enough from the foundation.
Good advice. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Keep looking for the bones, not the gloss. We'll see you next time.